Extroversion and introversion are the basis of Jung's work and one of the few parts that has survived and is accepted by psychologists today. There are quite a few different interpretations of what extroversion and introversion are, but my Jungian-inspired explanation differs from all of them, so it will be of use to you to know everything my theory is not. The common modern understanding of extroversion and introversion is focused on how sociable people are. But that is a behaviorist definition and not a necessary result of Jung's definitions. Some people have explained that extroversion and introversion have something to do with where people draw their mental energy from, that some people gain energy from talking with people, and others gain energy from being alone. I found that Jung talked a bit about that idea, but that goes back to the attitudes describing social behavior, so I don't hold with it. Some people have explained extroversion and introversion as how a person deals with the outside world versus how they deal with their inside mental world. Once again, this definition is behaviorist because how a person deals with the outside world references actual behavior, while I've found that Jung only talks about what goes on in the inside world. Jung describes extroversion and introversion with the following statement. Whereas the extroverted type refers preeminently to that which reaches him from the object, the introvert principally relies upon that which the outer impression constellates in the subject. So, extroversion is a focus on the object, while introversion is a focus on the subject. But what's that supposed to mean? It means that in order for anything to happen in psychology, you need two things: a person to comprehend stuff and something to be comprehended. In other words, a subject and the object they're looking at. That object can be a physical object, or an event, or an idea, or really anything that exists apart from the subject. Extroversion is focused on the information that reaches the subject from the object. They are focused on the object as it stands as an individual object on its own thing individually. And because extroversion loves objects so much, it considers its own personal opinions and ideas second-hand. In other words, extroversion orients their personal ideas depending on objective data. Thus, extroversion can adapt quickly to changing conditions in the outside world, but may also have a tendency to follow the crowd and be overly influenced by generally accepted ideas. Introversion is focused on the effect that objects have on the subject. Jung says that which the outer impression constellates in the subject. I think of it this way. Imagine that your mind, meaning your personal ideas, your inner mental contents, the stuff that makes you the subject, is a wet clay sculpture. Now, as you wander through this thing we call life, you encounter objects, events, and things, whatever. These objects press their outer shell against your mind, leaving impressions of that outer shell on your mind. Introversion is focused on studying the contours of these impressions and seeing how they interact with each other and with what was already impressed there. Thus, introversion tends to come up with theories and ideas to explain the patterns in the things it's experienced. Introversion posits the ideas it comes up with between it and objects, thus orienting itself towards objective data based on its own personal ideas. Jung puts it this way. Extroversion says, "It's cold outside, so I'll put a coat on." Introversion may say, however, "I want to become stronger and more used to the cold, so I won't put a coat on." The difference is that extroversion reacts to outside stimuli, while introversion reacts to inward stimuli. They may end up doing the same thing, by the way, but it would be for very different reasons. In this way, introversion can be immune from following the crowd when that would be stupid, but also has the difficulty of not following the crowd when that would be very smart. So in summary, extroversion is focused on objects, or the information that reaches it directly from objects. Introversion is focused on the subject, or the way that its subjective impression of objects interacts with its inner mental contents. Once again, it is important to note that extroversion does not describe how a person interacts with the outside world. That would be behaviorism. Rather, extroversion and introversion both describe how a person's inner world works. Extroversion means that the inner world is focused on information from the outside world and orients itself towards it. However, this often means it would do a lot of stuff in the outside world, potentially making it very sociable and outgoing and whatnot. But those are all possible behaviors stemming from the original concept of extroversion, which exists only in a person's mind. So did you get all that? Okay, let's move on to lesson 3.